All right, guys, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just remove this timer, and let's get started with today's campaign. Now, I've never played a Call of Duty campaign yet, and I've been really meaning to play it. Just been so busy with the multiplayer, everybody getting on. I'm joining my friends, I'm joining my viewers, we're having a great time. It's just what's been going on. So I'm hoping today we're going to go ahead and at least get 2.5 hours in on the campaign. So without me saying much else, let's just start it. All right, mature content notice. Player discretion is advised. Some scenes including graphic or intense content, including violence. Please consult the game's rating. Whatever, I understand. Just let me play already. Let's go. All right, so we're loading some of the assets. So it looks like we have a difficulty mode that we can choose. Realism, veteran, hardened, regular, recruit. This game saves data automatically at certain points. Do not turn off the power when the checkpoints reach. Message appears. Gotcha. All right, I'm not gonna really do hard. I think I'm just gonna, your abilities in combat will be tested. Your skills will be strained. You will not survive. Veterans with limited HUD. You know what? We'll just do regular. I don't care. We'll just do regular.
Our war is not for our fate. We fight to remove all foreign power from our soil.
We are Al-Qatala.
We are the killers. We fight without sorrow. We wage war without sympathy. This is the only way to live and die a true soldier.
Echo 3-1 to Charlie 2 actual.
Going for actual.
LZ is in sight.
Looks like our boys are right on time, Colonel.
Roger 3-1. Hitman teams are locked and loaded for assault. You are green to go.
Colonel, we may have a problem.
Too late, Laswell. We're live.
Not until I say so. Watch it at 3-1, how copy?
Station Chief Laswell, send traffic.
General Barkov has sent a new shipment of chlorine gas to his depot. But his mercs are prepping to move the chems into Urzikstan via convoy tonight. You're still clear to engage, but live fire on Russian military is prohibited. We cannot have an international incident.
Guarantees Russian Army won't respond on this case.
Understood, Alex. Just locate the gas and commandeer Barkov's troops to get off the exit pretty tight.
Copy, Watcher. Handle it.
Need to keep this on a tight loop. Barkov's men are moving the gas tonight.
What are the odds we weather the General Barkov? Russian general would be caught dead after.
Cut that light off, 3-1. It's out, Echo.
Heads up. 32. Good for us. 2 mercs in uniforms.
Эй! Кто здесь? Выйди! Покажись!
Okay, drop them.
We're clear. Copy. Post up on the ridge and let's get the lay of the land. Echo 3-1 to Blue Viking 5. Call for fire. Stand by for target confirmation.
Copy 3-1. Viking standing by.
Let's recce the area and make sure there's no Russian army in there. Keep them coming to the main gate. Target's in the loading depot. Eyes on. General, that's the entry. Vehicles on the move. Patrol vehicle, contractors, security. Hit targets. No Russian military presence. Call it in CIA. Blue Viking 5, this is Echo 3-1. Troops in the open, south gate. You are cleared hot.
Roger 3-1. Target acquired. Weapons free in 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Echo 3-1. Good effect on target. Viking is RTB. Good hunting.
Much obliged, Viking. We'll take it from here.
Heads up. Multiple guns on foot. Hold up. Approach.
Рассредоточиться! Если что увидите, стреляйте!
Smoke down.
Clear. Force up.
So someone was playing with fire. Serves them right, hawking this chemical shit.
Force out. We need to secure the gas before they move it.
We lost a teammate. Wow, my mic was muted the whole time, guys. Wow. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I was admiring the graphics in the game. Very much so. It was really cool. Oh my god, we're getting shot at by something. What the heck? So we lost one person, guys. One of our teammates got knocked out. Not good. Not cool, man. So there's a guy up there like on a turret or something. Oh, what the heck? All right, guys, here we go. Let's go. Let's go. 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 Let's get up top.
Target down. Let's move.
Oh gosh, grenade. Oh, that grenade took a long time to launch up. All right, guys, let's get going.
South side.
This might hurt. Nope. Okay. I went out that way. Yo, Thomas up in the house. Thomas up in the house. Hey, what's up, Thomas? Oh gosh. Hide it up, guys. Hide it up. Hide it up. Oh gosh. That grenade's gonna hurt. We gotta make sure we hide. Keep it safe there, guys. Is that AI trying to shoot me right through the thing here? That's our teammate. Throw grenades. Bye-bye. Ooh. Grenades, yay. Alright, let's go to get moving, guys. Wow. Clear it up, guys. Clear up the house. Clear up the house. Yahoo! Yee-hoo! Make sure they don't get away, guys. The way it rose. It's the way it rose, man.
Clear. Gas must be inside. Unless we're too late.
So we're gonna find out.
Clear. Clear. Clear.
I know this part of the map. Isn't this part of the,
Chems may be inside. Masks up.
It's like one of the story mission or multiplayer maps.
Let's do this.
Alright, we're moving in.
Build the power. No white light. Nothing.
Got your 6-3-1. Let's handle this.
Yeah, but didn't they say lights off?
It's pitch black in here.
Oh boy, what the? What is going on with 40001004? We got a box. We got a box working. What the heck is going on there?
You know that? Whoever killed the powers in here, I'm telling you, could have been the airstrike.
No, they're here.
All right, okay. Alrighty then. Interesting. Twerking box. All right. Interesting indeed. Stuff you find in video games. Why is it even shaking like that? Let me check out that clip real quick, see what we got here. Look at you, Thomas. Look at your stats, bro. Looking good.
Got your 6-3-1. Let's handle this.
Yeah, but didn't they say lights off?
It's pitch black in here.
Oh boy, what the? What is going on with 40001004? We got a box. We got a box working. What the heck is going on there?
Hear that? Whoever killed the powers in here, I'm telling you, could have been the airstrike. Now they're here. Got your 631. Let's handle this.
Yeah, but didn't they say lights off? Hmm. Interesting. All right, let's move on, guys.
Shit, you see that? Find him.
Ooh. That's my teammate.
Moving on the catwalk. Got one moving.
That hurts. Oh! How'd I die? Oh, wow. I went in a little too close.
Moving on the catwalk. Got one moving.
Right. Oh, they're up top too. I gotta watch above us, guys.
Shed some light, find this gas. Light's coming on. Hey! We got a problem. That's the Russian army. Spetsnaz. 3-1 to Watcher. Barkov's hired guns or Spetsnaz. We got Russian army pulled away. We need to bug out now.
Negative. Command wants mission comments on this. Not our choice.
Never is. 3-1 out.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Roger. Jackpot. PID in the gas.
Solid copy, 3-1. Load up and get back to base.
Roger that. Let's move out.
I'm very much fired. All right, let's get inside the truck.
All stations, we are Oscar Mike to the RV. Watch your sectors.
Good work, Alex.
I love how this vehicle looks way better textured than that other truck we were just looking at. Ooh. Oh, they know we're here. Yeah, we just flipped. RPG. Ay, ay, ay.
Watcher to 3-1.
Well, I'm wounded? Oh, gosh.
Who the fuck is this?
Uh-oh. The Russians and the Americans are both like on a mission that we're not supposed to be on. Why'd it keep me alive?
Echo 3-1 Watcher.
Alex, what happened?
Terrorist attack. Multiple Marines KIA. Gas stolen. We need evac now.
Roger. Tracking multiple Russian forces headed your way. Sit tight. We're pushing to you for fast exfil. Watcher out.
This operation is now compartmentalized.
What the hell does that mean?
Means you no longer have clearance, Colonel.
Those are my Marines. We need a QRF in there right now.
That's not advisable.
And that is not your call.
Colonel, Laswell.
General, my men...
Norris, give us a minute.
What's with the characters? Why do they look like that?
We've got a situation. The Kremlin has suspended all deconfliction channels. The Sixth Fleet is pushing into the Black Sea, and chemical weapons are now in the wild. Your fingerprints are all over this, Laswell. Fix it.
General, right now intelligence is our best weapon.
We've tried intelligence. Get me a better weapon.
John,
Laswell,
where are you?
occupied.
I've got a problem.
Russians?
Where travel's fast. Chemical weapons have fallen into terrorist hands. They could be anywhere. Paris, New York.
London.
When can you brief?
We just did.
So now we're playing over in London, guys.
This operation is now compartmentalized.
What the hell does that mean?
Means you no longer have clearance, Colonel.
Those are my Marines. We need a QRF in there right now.
That's not advisable.
And that is not your call.
Colonel, Laswell.
General, my men...
Norris, give us a minute.
What just happened?
Yes, ma'am.
We've got a situation.
How do I cancel
The
this?
Kremlin has suspended all deconfliction channels. The Sixth Fleet is pushing into the Black Sea, and chemical weapons are now in the wild.
Okay, why is this doing
Your
this?
fingerprints are all over this, Laswell.
We just
Fix
saw
it.
this.
General, right now intelligence is our best weapon.
We've tried
Can't skip it?
intelligence. Get me a better weapon.
Oh. There we go. Why did it show me the movie twice? That was weird.
We have snipers in position. Terrorists know that too, sir.
Garrick, don't turn London into a war zone, clear?
Yeah, Crystal. Out.
Looks like we're on our own, lads.
We'll handle it. Let's get it done, yeah?
Ep1.
Sergeant? Heads up. White van.
Weapons in view.
That's them. Saber to Raven. White van. Multiple military engineers.
Uh-oh. Got a handgun, really? Oh, we got traffic? Well, I kind of think we knew that was gonna happen. Oh gosh, the table split. Oh gosh. Whoa, what's wrong with this guy? You're wounded, bro? Hold on, stay back, everybody, stay back. We got terrorists. Whoa!
Destination at Piccadilly Circus. Shots fired. Down. We need medical down here now.
Oh, no window damage? Okay. I can't pick up their pistol. Oh, everybody had pistols anyway. What the hell is going on here, guys? Fire all over the place. This is bad news, guys. Very bad news. What just happened? We need to get in closer, guys. Oh, look at these guys. Whoa, 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 whoa. What the? Wait, who's good? Who's bad? Who's this guy? No, that's Crowley. That's our teammate. That's Fowler. Okay. Okay, teammates there, guys. Oh, yes, yes. Please give me a weapon. Thank goodness. All right, we got 100 bullets on this bad boy. Honestly, I don't even know who's good or bad anymore. Oh, whoa. If we know they're bad. All right, we're going downstairs. Is that what we're doing? Are we going downstairs or are we staying up? I don't know what we're doing. Major Dunham. Okay, so these are just regular people. Am I going downstairs? I don't even want to know what's going on up there, guys. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, we got a flying bag of chips? No, never mind. Thank you there, Blizzard. Hello, I was right. We need to get back up top, guys. Oh, okay. Well, we know this map a little bit because I played this on multiplayer. This is my kind of turf. Oh, here's all my guys. All right, so they're in there, so let's go in. I'm going in with the Uzi, guys, just like Laura Croft did in Tomb Raider 1 on the PlayStation. Let's go. Oh, we can't open that door? Oh, here we can actually go upstairs.
Raven Saber 2. Gas back up there now.
Alright, so the second floor is going to be clear now, guys. Ooh, snipers. We need to get downstairs big time.
Copy, Sergeant.
How? Whoa! I need just regular guns, but these guys all carry Uzis on them. I don't think we have a choice. But the people... Oh, we're in London right now. That's what's going on. Wow, you guys are really trying to can't even shoot a still target on the ground? What's going on here? Let's move in, guys. Move in. Ooh, okay. Boom booms. Boom booms. Super HD display. Phonic. Wow, I like the advertisements of this map. That's not good. Tap to view objectives. Oh, Tanto's building? This is where we need to go. Okay, well then let's get going.
Raven Saber 2, officers down outside the Tanto building. Officers down.
Oh, what the? Oh my gosh, he almost stabbed me in the face.
I'll show you. You armed up?
Yes, sir.
Captain Price.
Sergeant Garrick.
You with me?
All right, let's do it. Yeah, I can definitely go for the AK, guys. Oh, that's a cool little looking outfit there.
Check those corners.
We need help up
Hostages up top.
Help! Help! Up here!
Bunch of hostages.
Get
Why
it
is...
off me. Please, get it off me!
George, I need you over here.
Help me! Help me, I'm not one of them!
All stations, we have a man with a bomb strapped to him. Keep with them.
Look, open! I know. Can you help? I'm trying. Let me see my girl!
It's going off.
I can't get it.
No time! Help me! Wait!
Ooh. We would have been a few seconds later. Everybody would have been blown up.
Room is clear. Prep medical are coming out. Hey, everybody stay calm. We're gonna get you out of here. You broken?
I'm good.
All right. Got an achievement, so this is good.
You saved lives today, Sergeant.
This shouldn't have happened in the first place, sir. They sent us in half-assed. So everyone can just keep pretending we're not at war.
Yeah, like the fucking century, that is.
Why have we got our hands tied? Let's just take the bloody gloves off and fight. Sir.
Go on.
We don't stand a chance in hell with these rules of engagement, Captain. They can tell us where, they can tell us when. Don't tell us how. My men were tracking that cell for weeks.
You had actual intel on this?
Quite a bit, sir.
Okay, Garrett. with me.
Oh my god, a lag. Uh-oh.
Al-Qatala's claiming responsibility.
On orders from the wolf in Urzikstan.
Alex is on the ground there looking for the stolen chems.
Well, he'll need the Liberation Force on his side, so have him contact the CR.
You know Commander Karim?
We're acquainted. Use my name, or they'll kill him.
What is your message from Captain Price?
Commander Karim. Call me Alex.
I'm listening, Alex.
This is classified.
يلا ولد دامي جهزوا لي هالكم.
Hours ago, terrorists stole a shipment of Russian gas.
Only Al-Qatala would do this.
The Russians make no distinction between Al-Qatala and your people.
And I make no distinction between Al-Qatala and the Russian army. They're both terrorists. We would never use these poisons.
Then help us track it before they...
Before they what? Take it to Europe? Or America? We live like this every day.
Commander, it's time to go. Who is this?
Alex, this is my brother and Lieutenant, Hadir.
You are CIA?
He works with Captain Price.
Then you kill Russians, yes?
I have friends who can help us. But your sister decides what's next.
Of course. My sister is in command. And the Russian army is still here.
This occupation must end. That we can all agree on, yes? General Barkov's men control the city. We have plans to change that.
We have no missiles, but we have our ways.
If you stay, we can help you. But if you stay, you fight.
Yelanato.
Marhaba Ali Urzikstan, Alex.
Follow me. These tunnels are our lifeline. We have intel Russian troop commanders are in town today. We're going to ambush them.
How?
Explosives.
That'll get their attention.
And pull security away from the Russian base, leaving it open.
All right, here we go, guys. We're in a tunnel.
We must hold nothing back.
Whoops.
Get set for the airbase attack.
Be safe. Alex, take these charges. C4 with remote detonator.
All right.
Thanks.
This guy looked like he was about to shoot our head off.
Good luck.
You too.
Oh yeah, I'll watch all right. I'm watching. Oh yeah, don't hold me up. Why not? Why would you?
Zelemek. Here, Alex. She's on.
Going in disguise? Let's go put it on.
How do I look?
It'll do. Tarek.
Look like the mask didn't even cover her face all the way.
Russians are just
Oh, I'm impressed with the
outside.
graphics,
If
guys.
they
It actually
see
looks
a
really
weapon,
nice.
They will shoot.
That happens. Our plan fails before it starts. Alex, our guns give us away. Keep it hidden.
All right, so we got to pretend like we're regular civilians. I want to look around. What happens if I walk up to this guy? Okay, yeah, I'll walk away.
Let's move. Barkov's forces occupy the entire city. They will be very strict. I'm coming.
That's a big dog.
Almost never. He hides while others do his dirty work.
What kind of dirty work?
Punishment. For fighting back.
Men on the work line! Women to the trucks!
This is where we stick out. You'll need to comply to blend in. Get through that main door. I'll find you on the other side.
Okay, so I gotta act like I'm working, right? All right, we gotta be. These people look so happy to be at work today.
I'm through.
Go left, down the alley. See that soldier?
Yeah.
Approach him, slowly. Get his attention.
I go with him with the rock?
Distraction.
That works. Ooh! There's a bunch of things here in the ground we can grab.
Good. Keep your weapon hidden. Let's go. I have contacts posted just ahead that have more explosives for us. A bigger blast will pull more forces away from the Russian base.
Uh-oh.
Shit.
How is it on the stream though, guys? I hope that the recording is not bad.
They may be dead already.
Can't go loud. Need a suppressor.
Find an oil filter. It will silence your weapon. Check civilian cars. I'll keep watch on the guards.
This one's empty.
Keep watching.
There can be no order and no peace until those inside with these savages are permanently eliminated. I am American.
Probably this one. There we go. Nice little oil filter.
Head back to track right.
Screws right in. Look at that. You know how many kids are gonna do this at home now because of this video game?
Go around the truck. Right side.
Wait, what? Go around truck right side.
Alex, move up the right side.
Okay, hold on. I'm coming. I'm coming. Oh, I see it. All right, let's go.
You get two. I'll take the rest.
There we go. Whoa! Wow.
Clear.
She's a beast. Oh, this guy had a solid. He had a model 680. Throwing knife. I'll definitely take those. Man, she threw them all in their face. Oh, we can have more than one. Okay. Oh, hold on. Oh, I got one on the AK, one on the silencer. How long will it last, though?
Hold up. Stay away from the door. Do you have a shot?
Well, let me crouch and let me see what I have.
Yep.
Take two. I'll take the other.
Now go check the back room.
Oh, look at that throwing knife to the... I love how she throws those knives, man.
Sorry about your contacts.
We have the explosives. But a sacrifice will not be in vain. Hide the gun. We're going back outside.
Oh, get my gun back. Oh, what the...
Keep your weapon hidden.
Yeah, well, I want my gun. Oh, wait, I just saw it. Where'd it go?
Hide your weapon or they'll kill us both.
Wow, I can't grab the one with the silencer on. Are you serious? Okay. That makes no sense. Oh my god.
Please, she's just scared. Stand down.
Hey, where am I going?
Unite our causes.
This is a goddamn war crime.
And you will be rewarded.
For the stolen gas. Barkov blames us for stealing it.
What can we do?
Accomplish our mission and put an end to Barkov's cruelty forever.
What's down here?
Through here, up the ladder. Barkov is sending in helicopters. We take them out. Forces from the base come running.
Those are my objectives. There's 2 helicopters up there, guys.
Guards get in your way. Take them out. Fire. Get back here when you...
There's only crime and punishment. One by one, we will eliminate these actions from our
Well, we knew it wasn't going to be that easy.
and create a safe place to work and prosper under my foot. This revolt brings war to the peace-loving citizens.
Oh, never mind. I couldn't do what she did. I could have sworn I grabbed more than one throwing knife. Those footsteps are so loud, I know, right? Even in the game, bro. Even in the story mode.
Take them out. Quiet.
Well, how do I know?
Back here when you
I got 4 throwing knives, so why the heck did it,
There's only crime and punishment. One by one, we will eliminate
There we go. It just works a little differently here, I guess. Give me my throwing knife! Oh my god, it doesn't let us grab certain things.
This revolt brings war to the peace-loving citizens of Urzikstan. These freedom fighters and their collaborators
Oh, I know what this is. This is the multiplayer map, guys. Just looks a little different. Yep, it's the multiplayer map.
Guards on the entry.
Give my knives back. Only got 2? What? Where'd the other one go? Wow, what kind of sight is that?
I'm at the target.
You know what to do.
I'll give my throwing knives back. I had to shoot you. Land it in. Ooh, right on the pedal. Look at that.
This will make one hell of a distraction.
That's the plan. I'll get to the other helicopter.
They sound like boom, 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 right? They do. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. What's up? Thank you for the shares, guys. All right, let's keep this going. You got any guards around here, guys?
Use the stairs.
Well, we got another oil filter here. Anything to be grabbed? All right, so we got one on the guns. You know I gotta kill the dog, guys. Sorry. Promise I didn't mean to do it on purpose. They probably would have came and got us later. Alright, let's move on top.
Stop. There's a guard. Top of the stairs, left side.
Good eye.
Ooh.
Got you covered.
You got cat-like reflexes.
I'm more of a dog person.
Wow.
Charges set.
Regroup on my position.
Now I'm coming back down.
We're clear. It's time. Load.
I don't know.
Well done. Now this way.
All right, let's go. Let's get out of here. Go, 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 go.
Take the left. Hold your side. Look, good work. Let the base run to the center. Okay, the trucks are undefended. Take them out there. Come, under the truck. More are coming. Follow through.
Wow, this really puts you on the spot.
For when they return.
How generous of you.
Ashamed to miss the show, but we have to get on with our attack.
The silencer is that. We had to find an oil filter can from a car, man. Hey, it works, right?
The next street will lead us back to the tunnel, under Tarek.
Shit.
Ooh. Oh my god, what the heck? What am I supposed to do here? Oh, screw this, we're not civilians anymore. Are you even going the right way? Oh. Oh, here we go. Man, she's very agile. She can move. Just climb it. Or that, yeah, that works. Oh gosh.
What the hell is this?
More of Barco's war crimes. Alex, get down.
Don't move.
Wee. I like this campaign so far, guys. Pretty impressive.
Shoot the left.
Okay.
Good work. To the tunnel, quickly. More may be coming. Look, reinforcements from the airbase.
Looks like we're just running out with our guns. Screw it, why not?
Stop. Shit. Tarek, sorry.
Where's Tarek?
Dead. He would never abandon his post. Let's go.
Very nice. Ooh, look, we got fruits, guys. Ooh.
Clear.
Oh my god, look at all this food, Thomas. What are we gonna eat today, bro? You know, I love how there's all the banana boxes, but I don't see any bananas. Where are my bananas? Well, Donkey Kong would be very mad right now.
We need to go, Alex.
Yeah, well, I'm sightseeing here, you know. Hold on.
The tunnel, Alex, in here.
I was going the wrong way. Oh, this is back where we started.
You lost good people today.
That is the cost of this war. Now let's take Barkov's airbase, so their deaths are not in vain.
We're in for a hell of a fight.
So are they. Hadir has a plan.
Huh.
You are in my house now, Alex. I set up on the edge of Barkov's base. Keep those fucking dogs in check. Friends close, enemies closer. I told you we have our ways. No grenades, so we improvise.
Not bad.
We fight this war with sticks and stones.
Those Molotovs are very, very useful.
The Russians only understand
So we get to play like
violence.
different parts
So I show them
of the battles, I guess.
Barkov has an air force, so we have one too.
Alright, give me 1 second, guys. Alright guys, we're back. Sorry about that. So we're getting some nice little story mode rolling in. Glitter Tuna, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. It's nice to see you again. And Kelso, thank you so much for tuning in once again. Let's go, guys. Alright, so what weapons do we have now? Ooh, wait. I'll take that. PKM, this is one of the OP guns of the game, guys.
Are we ready?
Yes, Commander. Let's fly. Alex, fly to the helicopter for impact.
What do I gotta do? Swipe to deploy? What am I doing?
You're fired! Yeah!
Crash, it missed.
Ooh, whoops. Didn't mean to crash. You said stay low. Oh, we're all going into the airbase. Wow.
Aim at the helicopter.
Okay.
Flying, brothers. Let's get down there.
That was fun. Got to play with some RC toys there for a little bit.
Second team will cover us with the cannon.
Just a grenade at each your pace? Yeah, you know it.
Alex, move up.
right, let's go, guys.
Echo 3-1 to Watcher.
neck is killing me,
Local
guys.
forces are
The way
moving
I
on
slept.
Barkov's airbase, requesting close air support.
Copy 3-1. I'm tasking an unmarked gunship to your position. Stand by.
Roger that.
All right, well, let's move in.
Get ready. We attack their armory, take their weapons, and take their airfield. Cousins, we fight to free Urzikstan and take back our country. For Urzikstan! Urzikstan!
The heck is that? Oh my god, we just did that. Okay, okay, go guys, go, 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 do your job. Hey, don't just stand there, do your job. Go, go, go. Hello? Okay, fine, I'll go. All right, let's go. I don't know where I'm going, guys. I'm just gonna follow Pharaoh. She knows the way. No. The co-op ones, we haven't really had too much luck in. We were trying to do them, and they were just really hard, bro. Oh my god. Oh yeah, Molotovs. Forgot about that. Those work, right? How many Molotovs do I have? I got 2 more. Hold on, I climbed this. There we go. Now we got a way out of here, guys. Oh gosh. I'm getting shot up. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Oh gosh. Fly the plane again. Boom shakalaka! Now we can use this for multiplayer. What the? Okay, we need to hide. What the? Where'd you guys come from? These guys are hurting me right now. Oh, this one is in the multiplayer one? Gotcha. Boom! I like that. That's fun. That is really fun. We get to use this how many times? A lot? Oh, look at them having so much fun with this. Oh, no more? No, I'm so sad. Alright, more's coming by. Sweet, I'm glad. Where you going? Oh! Just shot fair in the face. Okay, we got more RC planes, guys. Let's go, boys. Fly 'em in. Ooh, shakalaka mother chaka. More? I'm gonna keep using this, guys. This helps a lot. Ooh, I'm loving it. How many of these do I get? I don't know if there's any more, guys. I think that's everybody. Yeah, I think that's it, guys.
That's it. Stand by for next wave.
Oh, they're driving planes too. Look at that. Okay. I'm running out of ammo.
Planes are airborne now. Alex, planes are good to go.
We got more planes, guys. Let's fly them in. Where are they at? Right by. Alright, no more friendly fire here, guys. That was a big epic fail. Big time. Oh, what the? Yo, they nearly had me there, guys. I gotta grab some bullets. Some bullets. One shot, I'm done for it. My teammate. I don't know who's who anymore, guys. Sometimes I'm just so confused right now. Keep running around. Oh, gosh, you're not friendly. Okay, yeah, you're definitely a bad guy. What about you? You're friendly? Oh, gosh. They nearly took me out here, guys. Not good, not good. Oh, my God. These guys don't miss. That's it, playtime. That's how you do it. Let me get another plane out there. Keep these planes rolling in, guys. And I just shot my teammates. Yeah, because that's just how we do it. I don't know if there was anybody there or not, but we still shot it anyway. Another plane? That's how we clear house. That was actually right in front of me. Wow. I don't think we need to worry about any more of those for now, guys. Let's move forward. Okay, did I just shoot them all in the face? I think we did. Come on, show yourself. All right, let me get somewhere safe. And call in one of our beautiful planes. Yeah, but there's nobody around now. The friendlies have names, they do, but you gotta highlight over them, see? I don't know, man, they all look the same to me right now. I can't tell the difference, especially in the middle of a battle. Oh! Who just did that? They're in that building right there, guys. I need to move in. I see you guys. Oh, this gun is crazy. Oh, I'm using this gun in multiplayer. PKM? Oh, dude, it's on. These are mine. These are mine. Yo, I'm low on ammo, guys.
First armory's clear.
Alex, the planes are ready.
We'll take some flashbangs. We'll take some ammo. And we are good to go.
Tarmac is through the gate. Everyone through the gate.
Let me reload this one real quick. All right, so far so good. Let's get outside. Are we going inside? What's the plan? Probably need some help.
We need to make Barco's
I'm going to ram it. Move, Alex.
Everyone to watch it.
Did that work? There we go. There you go, jump, there you go, jump, let's go, go, go! Oh! I could have sworn I shot the driver. There we go, good job. Well, more planes are good to go, that's good, because I'm going to need them. Oh! That's how we do it. I love this. don't think there's any more guards around it, guys. Let's just keep moving. Can you move out the way, dude? Move, 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 move. Oh, they're down ahead. They're down ahead. All right, so let's get them ready then. Oh my god, did I just take out my teammates? Okay, well, that's fine too. That's fine too. Love how detailed the map is, guys. Like, impressive. Like, we got some vodka. It actually says vodka. Impressive. We have Mayburn, because it may burn your lungs.
I see movement.
Wow, impressive. Fuckers. We got any more planes? Nope. Got him out. Go, 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 go. I'm moving in, guys. Ooh, what's it? Ooh. Oh gosh, hide. Oh, I'm glad planes are ready because I'm gonna need them right now. Boom! That's how we do it. Called Death Stranding. You know, is that the one where they had the guy from The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon in it? I've heard bad things about that game. Like, I heard it was really... could have been really good, but I heard they messed it up. No more planes. What? Oh gosh, guys, we need to get down and duck. Yeah, we're not gonna move. We got no planes. Not good. There we go. Okay, yep, they're hurting me now. It'd be nice if I had some RC planes. It's all good though, you know, I understand, don't want to give me no planes, okay. Oh, what the? How'd you get behind us? That's shitty, but that's only on PlayStation 4 also. Okay, yeah, just skip everybody else, go straight to me. Let's see how the game is. Ooh, what's this? Oh, he's got Molotovs on him. Yay! Oh, no more on you? Aw, that was nice for a while. Okay. I heard it. They shot down that, which is really nice. Ooh, not good. Yeah, for now it will be available on PC in 2020. Okay, cool. Well, until then, I guess I'm not playing it. I don't have a PlayStation. Oh, RPG to my face! Yeah, we definitely don't have a PlayStation. When you exclusive to a console, you're not going to get as much sales. That's a given fact. And I just died. Okay, well, let's try that again. Wait, where am I? Okay, okay. Oh, I knew there was one behind her hiding somewhere.
Everyone inside!
That's a light bulb.
Some dog bastards are still inside!
I hear them! Alex, get the door! Cover him!
Oh, okay.
I'll pull you up, Alex. Jump!
Oh, there we go. Looks really fun. I was watching a guy play and I was enjoying it. Right, yeah, it looks nice. I've just seen bad reviews about it. I was kind of skeptical about it. Uh-huh.
Armory is secure. Resupply on me.
Make it quick. Enemy reinforcements are here.
Ooh. Stick with the PKM because we need something with a lot of bullets. The grenades seem cool, but not so much. Alright, we're done here, guys. Let's get the heck out of here. Hey. Oh, gosh.
We're gonna be boxed in.
I shot the guy in there. Oh, that's a tank. That's out of the question. Yeah.
Ready for tasking. What's your position?
Yeah, we need air support for sure. You know how people are, they just love to complain. Yeah, very true. It looked good, like, judging by the trailer and everything. Do it. Wow, imagine getting this back on multiplayer again. Wow. Total destruction. Did we just clear the area? That it?
Tarmac is clear of enemy movement. Over.
Solid copy, Viper 1-1. Appreciate the high heat. Don't be straight.
That's the Apache.
So you do kill Russians?
Only the bad ones.
Today was a great victory for us. Thank you.
We make a good team.
Yes, we've got time. But Barkov will retaliate.
So will we.
We beat that part then, guys.
Alex and Commander Karim's forces have destroyed General Barkov's forward operations base, temporarily limiting Russian air capability in Urzikstan. We need to move fast.
Yeah.
Sergeant Garrick, thanks to your intel, we tracked the Al-Qatala cell responsible for the Piccadilly attack to a townhouse in North London. 3 SAS teams will get inside and connect the dots. If the Wolf is in possession of the stolen Russian gas in Urzikstan, we need to find him. Be advised, there may be non-combatants on target. Check your shots.
Targets are up, boys. Let's kick this off.
Oh, okay, Jay, okay. Well, you haven't played it and I haven't played it, so we don't know. Alright, here we go. Oh, let's see what's going on here then.
Bravo 6. Moving on the rear guard.
Oh, okay. Night vision goggles, look at that, let's go. Hold on, what's with the top window here? Do I jump to the window?
Take the window.
Oh!
Bravo 6.
We have a ladder. What do you know? I like this ladder.
Quiet.
There's zippy tie in it. Wow, look at the graphics, guys. Like, oh my god, I love the way it looks.
But this operation failed. Why did not fail? Your dead brother made sure of that. We were supposed to have double the body count.
Take the front row.
That's the point.
This is the United Kingdom. Do you think anyone walks around worried that they're going to get blown up? Well, now they do.
Secure.
Alpha 3. Injury to the
Well, we don't have a
front
choice, guys. We had to take her out, right? Her eyes look so creepy. Like, are they using like real people's faces? Alright, we're moving upstairs.
Bravo 6, moving to the first floor.
Uh-oh. We took out this guy. He just pushes me out of the way. He don't care. The heck?
2 X-rays down.
Copy. Make sure this floor's secure.
Can I just help you? Why would you do that? You could have lived. That's what you get. Okay, run in your mouth. That's it. The fireball. There we go. Good job. Let's get out of here, guys. Go upstairs some more.
Secure the floor.
Oh. Ooh.
First floor secure.
On me.
He was in there with a shotgun. He was trying to one-hit me. Congratulations, guys. Too, you got 100 retro coins there. The VIPs, one of my subscribers in the chat. Guys, get your retro coins out. Oh. See, you guys get coins. Just gotta stay in chat, guys. Oh. Mistake. Boo boo. That was a boo boo on me. Sorry, guys. No. Whoopsie daisy. See, look at that. You getting your retro points back, Jay. See that? Heck yeah. Remember, guys, you can invest your retro coins. If you don't want to spend all your retro coins, you can invest them. I think you can always do like check balance. Ooh, they shot one of our boys down.
We won't get up here now. Roger, moving.
Ooh, I shot him right in the balls. Ooh, no you don't. Anybody else down here? Oh, what the? Where the hell did you come from?
Floor secure.
Right at the stairs.
Sergeant Evans, poor guy.
Bravo 6.
So do I. right. Yeah. But remember, guys, on those mini games, I did put under construction, meaning they were in like alpha/beta. It's kind of enter at your own risk. But yeah, I remember we closed it for now, guys, because I know there was just too many complaints about it. I know it was an awesome mini game, but very glitchy.
Let's move.
Hands up, now! Don't move!
Secure him. Suck the kid up.
I don't trust her. Oh, no.
Secure this rope.
Wow. Went under the bed. Unbelievable.
Secure this rope. First floor, take point, Sergeant.
Screw that guy.
Locked.
I've got it.
Right.
Take him alive.
Welcome back, Ruben. Welcome back, dude. Ooh, what's going on up here? Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Where's the lady? Where's the lady?
They were going to kill
Don't
me.
move! Stop!
Me in here.
Drop her.
Clear.
Wow. So what the women are working with the men.
All teams, townhouse secure. Commence SSE.
Ah, I love women can kill civilians.
Roger.
Ooh.
Trust the place, Sergeant. See what you can find.
Oh, fucking hell. She was going for a bloody detonator.
Good job we dropped it in.
We made the right call, sir.
We'll bet your rose. We've got a location on the wolf.
The attic of the Al-Qatala townhouse was a gold mine. Looks like we found the wolf. Communications from the laptop were tracked to Ramaza Hospital in Urzikstan, where the Al-Qatala leader is believed to be holed up. Farah's forces will track terror activity at the hospital, while a Marine ground force can be mobilized to advance on the complex. Echo 3-1 will capture the wolf for interrogation about the stolen Russian gas.
Okay.
حتى كانوا قام يوصلوا جوا المستشفى بس هلا كريت الامور.
ماشي. خبي نعرف شو بيصير. My soldiers confirm that the hospital is under siege. Al-Qatala has taken civilians as human shields. They're protecting someone.
Or something.
Tomorrow we find out.
All clear, sister.
Hadir is my best sniper. You can rely on him. And all my fighters.
Marines want their pound of flesh. They're leading the charge on this.
I told you we would help you.
And you're keeping your word.
I don't do this to keep my word. The invaders of my country have no regard for human life. The gas kills all things, even food and our gardens. If you use these tactics, you are my enemy.
No exceptions?
None. Al-Qatala has given my people a bad name, and we have paid dearly for their crimes.
Wow.
I want to see the wolf punished.
I'll make sure you're at the embassy for the handoff to Price.
And you? Where will you go when this is over?
Wherever they send me.
You don't choose.
Not exactly.
Rest up. Tomorrow's a big day.
What about you
Why
and
is
your
this
man?
movie skipping like that?
We'll be here until sunrise.
I'll cover the open corner.
Nah, it runs very smooth. I don't understand what's going on with the cutscenes.
hospital is at the end of the road.
Half a click. I'll be hoofing it with the Marines.
Echo 3-1.
Sergeant Griggs. All day. Call me Alex.
No locals on this one. Not my call. You Kareem?
All day.
Nice work hitting the Russians.
We share friends and enemies.
Itfali. Bashufak.
Roll out. Demon Dawn.
Okay, so now we're with our crew now.
Find this a target-rich environment. Watch the window. Good guys look like bad guys around here. Shit's fucked up.
Demon 1-2, Viper 3-5.
Viper.
Viper's going northbound, checking on
So if I had ray tracing on for this, guys, oh my god.
Disarm it. Handle these wire traps, 3-1.
Check. On it.
Wow, they were about to, but that was pretty obvious though. But these are my men. I got a bunch of them with me. Oh yeah, hoorah! You want me over there, partner? Oh! Yeah, that just happened. AI can take you out. Impressive. Impressive. Alrighty then. Okay. I thought they were gonna stop. They said no, mission first. Nope. Let me grab that clip real quick. Give me a second, guys. Unbelievable. But that was pretty obvious though. But these are my men. I got a bunch of them with me. Oh yeah, hoorah! You want me over there, partner? Oh! Yeah, that just happened. AI can take you out. Impressive. But that was pretty obvious though. But these are my men. I got a bunch of. Alright, let's try this again, guys. So now we know. Don't stand in front of the truck. These guys really don't care. Oh, what the? I got a message during story mode. What the heck? How do I do this? Oh, now that works. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to throw a grenade! Throw smoke? Okay, I throw smoke. Now what? Now what? What do you want me to do now? Go, 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 go! I'm moving in, guys, as much as I can. I got the enemy guards. We got enemies. There's a bunch I see. Oh dear, cheese. Oh, we got grenade launchers. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Yeah, buddy, I got new tubes. How we doing, baby? Oh, reload that bad boy. I used to love new tubing in video games. Damn, Modern Warfare 2 specifically. Those were the good old days. My PC would blow up if I had it on. Well, I have it off for now. Only because, you know, multiplayer-wise. But for story mode, we could probably turn it on. Let's see here. What do we got here? We have... where is it? I don't even see it anymore. Oh, DirectX ray tracing. Turn it on. Hit apply. Computer's gonna blow up. Let's do it, guys. Let's blow this PC up. Well, it's actually, surprisingly, it's running pretty good. Where are the bad guys at? Oh. Yeah, well, I don't think that's gonna work. Let's throw smoke on that one. Run! I don't know if I follow the AI or not. Oh, my computer's lagging. Oh, God. Oh, ray tracing. Oh, dear God. Jeez, too much to load on my PC, guys. Oh, gee. Oh, ray tracing goes off. Okay. Yep. Turn it off. Ah, that's much better now. You can tell who is what. Yep, we're not doing that. No ray tracing. Ray tracing is very bad for business. Let's go in this building right here, see what we had to find. Is there a ladder anywhere? No? We're going inside. Oh, there's doors here. Oh. Ooh. What the hell are you doing? I see a trap there on the steps. Oh my God, look at that. Alright, let's move on up, boys. Oh, we got that body here. Watch our step, watch our step, watch our step. All clear? Let's move on in, guys.
Copy that. All teams,
I was gonna say, that's about to blow.
Demon 1-2 to Red Hammer 7. Taking fire from troops defending the south entrance of the hospital.
Copy that.
Request immediate suppression. Over.
I don't think we can shoot these guys. Alright, screw this. Let's just go. Wow, we're coming in with choppers, tanks, and everything. Look at this. I'm scared. These guys like to run me over. Very mean, man. Oh yeah, look at it. Look at the choppers are just clearing up the place. All right, let's go. Oh, I'm being shot at. Not good. Okay. Oh, oh gosh. Ooh, what's in here? Nothing. Oh, grenade! I need to really get used to the FAL. This is bad news, guys, doing this, I guess, because we're about to, the lady or whatever, her team is about to... I don't care if you're good or not, everybody's gonna go down. You're in this area right now, there's a reason. You're working with the enemy. Alright, there's gonna be some more in the back room there, guys. Let's get them. There we go, let's reload it up. We're looking pretty good on ammo. Okay, I need to crouch for a second. Nice and easy.
Bag this son of a bitch, please.
Alright, so it looks like we're in a hospital. Oh, I don't know. Doctors, yeah, no? I don't know, they good or bad? I can't tell. The doctors are running out of here. Oh my god, Jay just threw a grenade. Shoot, I don't have no light.
He's in the doorway. Got a visual.
Yo, I like the look at this, man. Ow! Ooh! That hurts. Let's keep it moving in, guys. Anybody else? Oh, you had a shotgun on him. That's why you're gonna die just like that, bro. Fall to the ground. That's what you get trying to shoot at me like that. What's the matter with you? Ooh. Oh, no, not today.
All stations. Demons are moving to second deck.
Thank you for the applause, guys. I really appreciate it.
This is a freaking morgue. Could be an ambush. Just check them. All of them.
I don't trust any of these guys. Any guns around him? Uh-huh. This one looks like he was ready to attack.
Demon 3 dropped off, Sergeant.
Oh! Okay. Okay. Let's see how it's gonna be. It's gonna be like that, Yeah, we need to get a cover. Wow. He's got a sawed-off shotgun on me, guys. Wow. All right, there, buddy. Somebody else? Wow. No! We've been obliterated. Alright, let's try it again. How far back? Oh, that hurts. Alright guys, we gotta stay alive a little more. Reload. Well, my target, your target's my target, so let's do it. Ooh wee. Gotcha. Oh gosh, I almost walked right into this. Keep moving in, guys. Keep moving in.
My fucking pleasure, Sergeant.
Oh! Wow. That was a big epic fail, guys. I shot my own teammates. I know not to shoot my team now. Oh, yeah, yeah. Alright, let's get through there.
Take a look, 3-1.
Take a look. What we looking at? Ooh, we got snake cam.
You were sent here to kill me, but you will die because of your continued bombings and your proxy wars.
What do you see, 3-1?
Missiles and bullets continue to strike our people. Our knives will continue to slash your throats in retaliation.
What's the sit rep?
Those governments that come to our land uninvited will perish. We will never again be captive to a foreign power.
3-1, what do we got?
Captain. Cannot save you. You were sent here.
PID on the Wolf. 3 Marine hostages. He's gonna kill him. We got a breach.
Flank him from the rear. I'll take the main. Alex, take the window. Find a way around.
Briggs, we're heading inside. Stand by. Hold.
Take this animal alive, Alex. Don't shoot him. Get him on the ground.
Always a victory.
Ooh-wee.
We got you, brother, man. You're all right.
Good, Griggs. Omar Suleiman, you are now in custody of the Special Operations Force. Do exactly as you're told. You're a dead man.
Hell yeah. All demon teams, Marines are secure. Wolf is in the bag. Let's move him to the embassy.
He doesn't even say a word.
Echo is on the 3rd deck for RV. Be advised, primary entry point is clear, but that window is rapidly closing.
Roger. Well down in 3 mics. 2-6 out.
3 minutes.
In 3 minutes, my people will be inside. They will kill all of you.
I chose to take you alive. I could still change my mind.
You have the wrong man.
Lies. Tell them what you've done.
We did not steal the gas.
Who did?
Someone very dangerous.
Where is it?
I wish I knew.
The butcher is outside. They'll burn the city if they have to.
Save yourself, daughter. Join us.
Do not talk to her.
Hey, tap the brakes.
I am not your child, old man. I lead soldiers. You train killers.
But we are all killers here, no?
They're gonna breach.
Oh my god, this lag is unbearable.
6 shots fired. Move to secure the HVI, will advise.
Why are the cutscenes doing that? I wonder if it does it like on Xbox and PlayStation as well, or is it just a PC thing? Just shoot all civilians. They shouldn't be there in the first place. Oh, uh-oh, not good. Yikes. Ooh.
You broken? I'm good. Echo 3-1 primary extraction failed. We're down on the roof.
Understood. What's the call, Captain?
There's a safe room in the basement. Head there, we'll be right behind you.
Roger, we're moving.
And a pistol again. Why do I always start with a pistol? He gets a nice little AK. Man, it must be nice.
We have to reach the safe room before I can tell it down.
So they already breached in through the door then?
Personnel?
I can tell the safe room. So do we.
Good, you're here. You need 5 minutes to finish up. What can I do to help?
Prime weapons. Barricade the doors.
To the extraction team!
No use.
Kind of curious to see what it looks like out there. They were showing our chopper just going down.
Echo 3-1. Secure the base 6. 5. Outside.
Wow. They're killing our soldiers. Oh boy. Not good.
Oh shit, Sergeant.
Open this now.
Everyone back.
Only want the wolf. No one else has to die today.
Who has the key card? I do.
How about you, Captain? Are you gonna let them die? Save his life, Sergeant.
Now, Sergeant.
Give us the wolf. Mercy is weak.
Ain't gonna open it up, you crazy? Oh, it's cracking. Yeah, we open that up, we're done for.
Get
Oh, he shot the guy's father. That's crazy.
Locked down. No way out, Captain.
Right now, this is the safest place you can be. We're coordinating extraction, but it's gonna take some time.
Let's move, Kyle.
Romeo.
Oh, they're coming in. Well, I just got butchered. Try that again. Wow. They just don't miss, do they? Okay, let's try that again. This time I'm gonna sit back here and I'm gonna lean shoot. Thank goodness. Oh well, everybody's gonna die anyway, so just shoot who we can, right? Wow, what the? Where'd these guys come from? Nice, 2 for 1 shot right there. All right, let's go, let's go.
Let's get to the basement, Kyle.
Locked.
I've got it.
Oh boy.
We're in the basement.
Raj, be advised, we have hostiles outside the safe room.
We'll take care of it.
All right, we're moving in.
Let them know we're here, Sergeant.
We're here.
Still fighting a good fight?
Always, Captain.
The ambassador's still inside, sir. He's trapped.
Okay, keep him on the line. He may be our way out of it. Here, thanks for the assist.
Our pleasure, sir.
Umar Suleiman.
Have we met?
Yeah, back when you were on our side.
The wolf was a freedom fighter?
I still am, brother.
The Butcher's men are closing on the ambassador, Captain.
Rog. Kyle, man these cameras. Direct the ambassador to safety. We'll need his key card to open the rear doors. Rest of you on me.
Something ain't right. Something's wrong here.
Mr. Ambassador, can you hear me?
Stacy, hi!
Ambassador!
Right up!
Shit. Captain, the ambassador is down, but I can lead his assistant to you.
Do it. We need the key card.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello?
This is Sergeant Kyle Garrick.
Stacy Davidson.
Just do exactly as I say, and we'll get you safe. Take the ambassador's keycard and move to the door.
So I'm about to move to different directions here.
Okay, they have the key card. What now? That man is in the hall.
Go right. There's a cabinet at the end of the hall. There's a cart by the door. Stay low. Pillar.
Oh my god!
There's a cart near the bookshelves. Go now.
What is he? There's the one!
Other end.
Okay.
That's a fucking butcher.
Or Stacy. Shoot everything, ask questions later. Yeah, that's how we gotta do it, bro.
Go to the door. There's a cart by the door. Pillar.
Oh my god!
What is he? Where's the wolf?
That's a fucking butcher.
I don't know!
Sergeant, are you there?
Don't lie to me. Wolf is here. Everywhere. I'm just an analyst. Someone else knows.
Should I run?
I don't have someone else. I have
There's a
you.
cart near the bookshelves. Go now.
Okay.
Other end.
Does not belong in my country. This is not your land. No, wait, please.
Hide in that body.
You don't want me to come to your country and take your people. No, but I can't help you. That's too bad for you.
Sergeant Garrick, they're killing you.
Go to that cart.
Okay, here I go.
Other side of the desk. Go.
Oh my god, I did it too late. Shoot, no! I messed up.
This is not your land. No, wait, please. You don't want me to come to your country and take your people. No.
Go to that middle desk. Stay low.
I can't help you. That's too bad for you.
They're killing you. Sergeant Garrick.
Other side of the desk. Go.
Okay, here I go.
Hide by the door. Go to the hallway, now. Hide by the door.
Where do I go now?
Go to that cubicle, now.
Oh my god. Adam?
Oh, no. Stacy, pick up the phone.
Stacy.
God damn it, Stacy, leave it.
I'm sorry, Adam.
Don't scream, Stacy. Don't move.
I want to go home.
We'll get you there, Stacy. You're almost out. He's gone. Move to the cubicle.
So which way do I need to go?
All right, next cubicle. Go.
Oh man. You got a good shot. You shot it right in the face.
We'll get you there, Stacy. You're almost out. He's gone. Move to the cubicle. All right, next cubicle. Go. Down the line. Next one.
Okay. Hello?
The other cubicle. Go now. Move to the whiteboard. There's a guard blocking the exit. You'll have to distract him.
What do I need to do?
The shredder. Go, now. Now turn it on. The other side.
Okay, I'm going.
Get to the exit. Run.
Oh, I see.
Lock that door.
Regroup in the parking lot.
Roger that, boss.
All stations, this net. The embassy has fallen.
That was kind of cool. That was different. I never had to do that in Call of Duty before. Get up out of here, guys.
SAS, we're working our way to you.
Roger that, Captain. My Marines will keep an eye out for you.
Roger that.
Now we're in the parking garage, guys.
What's the plan?
Link up with the Marines to the southern compound.
Where's the compound?
Let's get there.
All right, let's go. All right, Garrick, open it up.
Here. Thank you, Sergeant. You saved my life.
This key card makes it.
Keep throwing grenades by accident, man. We make it out to the back? Oh! Oh, ah, you tried to throw that Molotov at us. You saw that, guys? Whoops, right? I know, I do that every single time. I'm always throwing grenades. Jay, what are you doing later, bro? Did you want to get some gears on, bro? Yo, what's up, Trix? Yo, what's up there, Joshua? How are you? Welcome. Honestly, Jay, you need to play the campaign, dude. This is nice.
Raj, coming to you.
يلا المكان مؤمن.
We're compromised. Reposition, now!
There's the compound.
Okay, cool. I'll keep you posted on it. I'll message you on Discord. Do you have your notifications on or no? I know, like, some Discord servers I go to, I always turn mine off. I'm not gonna lie. It just depends on the servers, but like my main servers, I keep them on. Oh, Twisted, nice. Dude, how many times have you changed your name?
This is Bravo 6. That's
Let's get this bad boy unlocked here real quick. I want to get the characters, because you do the campaign mode, you unlock some characters.
Thank God.
Dude, this is like a beautiful looking story mode. Like, it looks impressive.
But we will meet again.
06, I need air support and I need it now.
Negative 06. Can't risk another bird.
Okay, get me nothing. We're fighting the whole bloody thing.
The only drone in range needs a refuel. Can't stay up for long.
Just get it here. 06 out.
Something seems wrong.
Alex, go north. Cover that roof. Kyle, Farah, you with me?
Roger, Captain. Roger.
Captain, Marines have got the embassy covered if they follow.
Nothing out there, sir.
They'll be back. They'll come from the other side.
How do you know?
Because I would.
She's right. Reposition across the roof. Now. Dig in. I want a line of sight across that field. Sergeant, grab a sniper rifle from the case behind us. The case, Kyle. Grab a rifle and get eyes across the field.
Where the hell are the rifles at? TBR.
Get eyes on that cafe straight across the field.
Jet 12, cafe. Multiple military age males.
Unarmed. Stay with them.
2 more.
Potter,
They're messengers.
looking our way. No bueno.
Track them.
On it.
Something's got him spooked.
Check right. 2 more.
Bugging out. This ain't right.
We got more unknowns far into the field probing.
Fighters. They're here for us.
Not that many though.
Lost them.
Alex?
All quiet.
Hang on. Got movement. Midfield, 11 o'clock.
Where?
Negative. Just the wind.
Hold your mud.
They're watching us, Captain.
Another word, and I'll send you out there.
Yes, sir.
Targeting the lights. Clear to engage.
Launch flares. We'll pick them off in the light.
Illumination rounds. Load us up, Kyle.
Yeah, usually there is a zoom button for snipers. It just depends on your scope. Like, you'll be able to toggle different, like, sights.
Waiting on that flare, Kyle.
Oh.
Fire in the hole! Got movers back in the field.
Engage! Engage!
Do another flare. Another flare up there, guys. I have them all off, but I constantly check Discord while I'm on PC. Oh, okay. So do you have a Game Pass, or you just access to Gears 5? I had the key for it. Microsoft sent me a key for the game. Not good, guys. They're right by us.
Getting low.
Almost out.
Check your shots. Make them count.
Trucks moving south far into the field.
They're repositioning.
I don't think we can shoot them. That's not good. Ooh, yeah, they're after us. Lucky, I know, right? You know what? Need to regenerate some health real quick. Oh. Oh, I don't think I'm supposed to be here anymore. Yep, I don't think so. And I was supposed to go back. Whoopsie daisy. Lucky, yeah. Yeah, they sent me a message. At first, I originally downloaded Gears 5 just to play on Xbox, like on my Game Pass. And then I'm like, you know what, let me, I checked my, and they sent me a whole key copy. I was like, that's very nice item. Yeah, this is the new Modern Warfare, yes. That's exactly what it is there, Twisted. Wow, where the heck are they shooting me from? All right, we're just supposed to. We're not supposed to stay there. We're supposed to keep moving back. So let me just keep moving back. Where's my objective anyway? Yeah, see, all back to cover. Makes sense. Wow, man, these guys are aiming directly at me. Wow, you telling me that guy's in a wide open behind me? How? How does that even happen? I was thinking if you have Game Pass, we could try World War Z. I don't have Game Pass anymore. Actually, let me check. On my phone, I can only play Gears, Halo 5. Gears, Halo 5, and, Killer Instinct Gold, or not Gold, and Sea of Thieves. Those are the only 4 games, really. For Game Pass, I'll have to double check. No, I was running out of space on my Game Pass, so I'll have to see what's going on with that. Wow. Wow.
All stations, no movement in the field. Go black.
I moved to the north building for resupply.
World War Z.
Let's top off and get up inside, son.
World War Z. Why does that sound familiar? On Xbox? It's on Xbox?
Stay low, and do not leave this building. Sergeant, load up, come and see me.
Roger.
Bravo 6, this is Jack.
Oh, Xbox and PC, okay.
Close air, guns hot.
Copy, 4-1,
World War Z. I'm trying to remember what that is.
Birds inbound from close air.
One drone, no fuel.
Roger, actual.
We have a drone on station. I need you to mark targets.
We should roll up the wolf and get off the X.
Negative. We defend this position. We live to fight another day.
Cut bait.
We may have to.
All right, so let's see here, guys. Let's see here what we got. How do I get this drone up here? There we go.
Flash out.
Nowhere else?
We're clear.
Not for long.
What was this thing earlier when we need it?
East side.
Oh, really? It's kind of similar to the Walking Dead game? Yeah, I'll have to look into it. I'll have to probably install it on my Xbox because honestly, dude, my PC, bro, I'm out of space, bro. Again, I just got these hard drives. I'm just gonna have to really suck it up and just delete things. And
Unknown vehicle across the field.
A civilian?
Or a car bomb.
He's headed our way.
Are they armed?
No vision. They moved on. We're good.
Zero 06, Jaguar 4-1, you've got enemies inbound from the east, over. Solid copy.
Got a target! East of us!
I see that! Move in!
Rifle.
how do you do it? Yeah, look at that. Very nice. Gotta let this bad boy recharge. Yeah, I'm doing the campaign right now. Yeah. What's going on, Solid? How are you, bro? Where are these guys? Is that it?
06, Jaguar 4-1 is bingo fuel. Egressing at this time.
Roger 4-1, thanks for the assist.
What does this mean?
He's out of gas. We're on our own again.
Focus up.
Well, so much for that. Seen that guy a little prone up there. I'm getting shot at. Got him. Yeah, I was on earlier. I didn't see nobody on. I was like, you know what? Today I'm just gonna do the campaign. I only got like about maybe 15 minutes left. I don't have too much time left anyway. But we'll definitely try to queue up sometime though, Solid. I don't want to keep you waiting, bro. I believe a couple people you may know actually might get on. Supposedly they're supposed to get the game, so we'll have to wait and see and find out about that. That's our teammate. I think I'm marking an FAL. That's what it is. I like this FAL. It's pretty good. Where is Where the heck are these guys? Oh, I don't have the control for that no more? There we go. Where is he going? Oh, they're shooting at us. We need to get out of here, guys. Oh, I'm supposed to be heading now. Ooh, my bad. Whoopsie daisy. What's going on, Hadir? Oh gosh. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. Let's keep it up, guys. Keep it up. Let's go, 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 go. That's not very good.
Get the door, Sergeant.
I'm on it. Yeah, too bad we couldn't have climbed that. That would have been nice. Okay, I'm returning the mission. But he has to do it.
Here, Sergeant. Help me over the wall.
What if they would have just shot him in the face? Oh wow, what the?
06, we're at the target building. Moving interior.
Sergeant, we have to take out this mortar team. Hurry!
Roger that.
Already shot him in the face. Alright, stay frosty. Let's go. Ooh, look at this guy laying on the ground in the living room door. Oh, you sneaky little bugger. Oh, gosh. You son of a biscuits. You Sean of a biscuits. Gotcha. Oh, don't you dare. One more. And a grenade. Alright, let's move in, guys. Oh, nice try there, buddy. Uh-huh, got you in the bathroom here. Not bad, not bad. Uh-huh.
Bravo 2-6. All mortars down. Building is clear.
Riding back at the compound.
That's it. That's it. Let's go.
Sister, they're bringing in more fighters.
In the field.
Wow. Not good, guys.
Pull back to the right. You're inside, Captain.
I just blew on my teammate for a second there. Not good. We're knocking everything down. Let's go, let's go, let's go. It's our teammate. Okay, we need to crouch. Okay. The near me took me off. Yeah, and don't forget too, Jay. We can always do. Have you played Halo 5 before or no? Because I've never played it. Got this guy. Are they gonna get him? Oh! How'd they know he was here though? Poor Stacy, she wanted to go home right away. So we gotta get the something A right here, guys. Watch him be gone.
He's gone.
They breached the wall. Fucking hell. They got him, Captain. We will find him.
Wow.
Hadir, get your team to the crossroads. Bring everything you've got.
Yes, sister. What's the plan?
Wow. Oh, you played Halo 5? Okay, okay.
The wolf is with the butcher. Terrorist cells in the city will hide them. Bravo will clear house to house in search. My people will help you. If they try to escape to the mountains, there is only one road. Tariq al-Maut, the highway of death. The Russians bombed it during the invasion, killing the people trying to escape. There is a village at the crossroads. I sent Hadir and his fighters there to prepare an ambush. Alex and I will join them and take up firing positions above the road, lying in wait for the wolf. Highway is below us. Kir has reinforcements in position to ambush the unit.
We're easy prey for the Russians out here.
Yes, our window is short. Barkov's men will be on the hunt. He's lost control.
Okay.
Is it home? Let's move. We have to put the roof over the house. Before the war, this village had families and laughter.
Laughter is the best medicine.
Tell me a joke.
What happens when the CIA goes to sleep?
What?
Wow, look at the graphics, guys. So impressive. I'm trying to see if we have time here. I think we might actually have to get going. But so far, not too bad. Not too bad.
Come, we haven't much time.
Got a couple of our people up there, guys. All right, give me 1 second. Hold on. We're going to continue on here, guys, okay? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Wow, so how do you guys feel about the campaign so far? Have you heard of the stream game Stream Captain? Never heard of it. Stream Captain, what is it? What is it about? Yeah. Well, we know now we can't do ray tracing, guys. That's it's completely out of the question. Only rocking a GTX 1080 Ti card here, guys, and our card is no longer the best card out there. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna skip the 2080, and I'll probably just get the next one. Try to save up some money and get ourselves maybe like the 3080 or something, 2180. I think that's where it's gonna fall into right now. All right, let's get a few more minutes in, and we gotta get going, guys. Or should we just cut to the break right here? I don't know, what time is it? We actually only have 5 minutes technically, according to our stream time here. How long have we been on? Let's take a look. And yeah, technically 3 minutes or so. Okay. I did say 2.5 hours. Alright, I didn't want to make this video too long. So far, loving the campaign, guys. I think the campaign's amazing. Really nice, very well done. The graphics are awesome. I believe this looks like the Spec Ops mode mission. Yeah, it does. Yep, definitely. Yep, it is. I remember these tanks. Same borders. Jeez, look at that gun this guy's holding right now. Alright. Yeah, just to be safe, guys, we're gonna go ahead and we'll just go ahead and end this right here. Let's go ahead and hit the quit the campaign. And I think we did really, really well today, guys. So it looks like we had a bunch of missions here. So it shows us what we have. Highway of Death. Impressive. We can't join Solid's game. Can't join anybody's game. Here's that game, SteamCaptain.com. Stream Raiders, join your streamer in battle. Oh, it's a browser game? Help your captain win and earn rewards. Played during downtime on stream. Wait, what? The hell is this? What am I looking at here? Seems interesting. We'll have to check it out then. The hell? I don't want to do this. Oh, we have to sign up to be a captain. Jay, do you have a referral code I can use since you you referred me to this? What's your give me your referral code to help you out here, dude. Oh, even Kid Famous is doing the same thing. He's playing the single player. Oh, service full. Shoot. Yeah, so if I do this now, do I get new operators? Oh, I got new operators, guys. I got Thorn. Impressive. Just by doing the... oh, and D-Day. I got these just for playing the single player, so it's good to play single player, guys. Sweet. Customize with this one, okay. I like them in all black. You're not seeing a referral code? You have to find a code really quick? You should have one. How did you hear about Stream Raiders referral code if you have one? It should be probably in your account, dude. I'll wait a little bit so you can find it. But guys, for those of you watching this either through recording or right now, we're going to end episode 1 of the campaign. We're probably only going to have to do one more episode anyway before we finish it, so we will finish that off. Now, tomorrow, well, we probably do an early morning stream, like 2 in the morning or whatever, but tomorrow night, more than likely, I will not be live, and here is why. I actually have a paranormal activity that I'm going to attend, meaning I'm probably going to get scared out of my pants, but that's okay. We're going to have a paranormal group. Actually, we're going to be with them in a haunted, like, winery type thing, right? So, and while we're there, they're going to give us, like, this equipment. So I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will find out. I really wish that cameras were allowed to be used, because I would love to record it while I'm there to show you guys, but I don't think that's going to be allowed. I will probably ask just to check, and if I do, I'll probably have to stream it from my phone. But I think it would be nice if I actually went out and bought a really, really good camera. You might make a mess, right? It's gonna be wicked. I think I'm going to love it. I don't know much about it. I know there's a, I know it's like haunted. Let me see here. It's one of the things that had the haunted histories to it. It's a haunted winery closed its doors due to tragedies and horrors from within the walls of the property. Oh, and I'm going there? Why would I do that? Area was haunted winery closed its doors due to tragedies and horrors from within the walls and the property of... Okay, doors are open for you to walk through this century home to discover and experience. You will experience intense da-da-da. Okay, the zombies in a core maze. I did do that. Zombie tag. Yep, I did the zombie tag already. Bora, you might want to look into this, bro. No. Tomorrow I'm about to go to a paranormal thing. Hold on, let me see here. I think this might be... Yeah, I gotta be leaving, guys. Thank you for signing up with the closed beta. We're adding people every week and we'll be getting back to you soon. Please join our Discord, blah, 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 blah. Well, how do I know if I'm part of here now? Look at Jay. Is that a dancing GIF right there I see? Who's a streamer? Am I on here now? Nope. Alright, well then I'm not playing yet. Hopefully I'll get on there soon, guys. So I can be a stream captain, then I'll get on there and play. I'm gonna bookmark this though, just to be safe. Thank you, Jay, for that, by the way. I did sign up. Alright guys, I gotta go, get out of here. Thank you so much for everything. I really enjoyed this campaign, had a very, very, very much fun. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for tuning in. It is tremendously grateful to have you guys here with me here, always here at Tricks Gaming, and you guys are awesome for everything that you have done. Now, in the future, guys, we're gonna have to really start doing some more things to the stream. Emotes are coming on their way. I do need to get some upgrade in our equipment here in terms of like lighting, webcam, and microphone, everything like that. I think we're good. I just really need to get better hardware for our PC, guys, so we're not getting this artifacting and this lag and all these problems. Some of the stream funds have actually came out of pockets, which is expected, right? I mean, I can't just use all the money we make from donations to get things, but I was able to use a majority of it to get all this wonderful things here, which was really nice. No way I could have done it by myself. So now I'm in the process of upgrading again, so I'm hoping, you know, we're gonna try to save up as much as we can, and then I need to either one, get that streaming PC like we've been talking about, or two, just build a really beastie tower and take it from there. Now, I've always done a single tower setup. I've never done a double tower, so this will be new for me, but I know a double tower will be the best method and the best way to go. So that way I can game at full everything without sacrificing anything, and then I can have that one PC just straight encoding per that stream, which would be good for you guys. But all right, so let's wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for everything. If you have any questions in the comments, guys, feel free to ask down below. You want to build a new PC, just give me your old one, right? Yeah, I need to build a new one, guys. If worse comes to worse and I don't have nothing to do with this old PC, let's say I save up enough money and I'm able to get a streaming and a new gaming PC, I can either do one or two things. One, I can sell these parts online and have you guys purchase them, or I'll just sell them anywhere on the internet. Or two, I could just do my PC maybe as a giveaway. I don't know what shipping will be like. We'll just have to wait and find out. So we'll definitely take it from there and see what's going on with that, guys. So it's definitely something I would love to hear from you guys. Just let me know. Let me know your suggestions. Let me know your recommendations. Let me know what you think. Jay's always pretty good about it, guys. Jay always gives us suggestions here on Discord, and I check it 24/7, guys. Like on a daily, I'm always looking at my Discord. Social media, I try to. I'm not on there as often as I should be. I should get a little more active in terms of like postings and things that we do, so we'll see. Shipping would be crazy. Yeah, I can imagine. You know, maybe I'll let the shipping be in charge of the winner. Be like, hey, you won this, but you gotta pay the shipping. It's like $50 shipping, you know, but hey, 50 bucks is for a gaming computer. You can't go wrong with that. So on that matters, I'm out of here. I gotta go. And Bori's not lying about that. Get home delivery, right? Get Amazon Prime, like, oh yeah, deliver locally. We got this, don't worry. Probably closer to 100. I'm kind of curious how that would work in terms of shipping. I wonder how that even works. I don't know. I really don't know. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for everything. Get that Trixie bribe, right? Woo woo. You guys have a good one. Bori, thank you so much for being an ongoing subscriber. Jay, thank you so much for being an ongoing subscriber. And I don't know if there's any other VIPs here. We can find out. You want to see how we find out? Watch this. Here's how I do it. Because sometimes they don't appear on the lurking list. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to just give you guys another 100 just for being so wonderful. 2 of you guys. All right. So I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much for everything. Oh, thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you guys next time here on the Trix Gaming Broadcast. Adios.